Today, however, I'm going to talk briefly about the integral map and the basic theory from which it comes, since you'll need a little background to understand the next modules when we apply it in a more practical way. Most of the time when we think about illness, it's in terms of tests, doctor's visits, and treatment. However, this is only part of the story, the right-hand side of the quadrants. If you look at the pictures of the quadrant model, you'll see that the left side is about the interior, and the right side is about the exterior. The left is about your inner experience, your feelings, thoughts, imaginings, hopes, and so on. The right is about what you and others can see by observing you, your body, your heartbeat, your blood type. The left side depends on subjective reporting, what you tell other people about how you are thinking and feeling. The right side depends on objective reporting, what logic and science tell us about what is happening. Much of modern medicine focuses on the right-hand side and ignores the left, as many of you probably know. Sometimes alternative medicine can do the opposite. Ideally, they can work together. You'll note that there's also an upper half and a lower half of the quadrant model. The upper half is about individual experience, whether subjective or objective. You can individually understand your thoughts, feelings, imaginings. This is the upper left experience. You can also look at yourself objectively as a body and measure its temperature, its height, and so on. This is an upper right experience. The lower half of the quadrants are about collective experience. All of us as a group. Again, either can be subjective, which is the interior, or objective, which is the exterior. For example, the insides, the lower left, of a society are about the culture, the beliefs, standards, assumptions, and relationships of its people. The outsides of a society are its systems, how that culture has manifested in the world. For example, our culture has assumptions about what illness means and how it is to be managed. Those assumptions have been concretized in the hospital system, the insurance system, the employment system, the transportation system, the pharmaceutical system, and so on. Because institutions are slow to change, beliefs can often change before the systems do. Then the systems have to catch up. For example, we understand that we usually can't locate an illness in only one body part. However, the medical system is often organized that way. If we have a multi-systemic illness, we can end up going to multiple specialists. Change is occurring, but it's slow. Sometimes, of course, it is valuable to focus in on one of the quadrants. That allows us to go more deeply into a particular issue. And sometimes it's more important to take a broader view and consider 2 or 3 or all of them at once. As an example, the development of a medical device is an upper right activity. It's an objective, practical activity. So if you're the developer, maintaining a primary focus there would make sense to the developer. However, if this developer completely ignores the upper left personal sensitivities of the patients using this device, it's not going to be successful. You yourself are likely to be more comfortable with one quadrant than another, or because of your situation, find yourself preoccupied with one or another. If you're a patient, you will likely have a good understanding of the upper left quadrant in this regard, your own experience of illness. If you're a doctor, you will be more focused on the upper right quadrant, what science can tell you about the illnesses you treat. If you're a family member, you will be very involved with the lower left quadrant, how you interact with the patient and others. If you're an administrator or policymaker, you will be interested in the lower right quadrant, the systems that serve people with illness. Anyone who has been touched by chronic illness knows that conflicts can arise due to these different views of the patient, family, medical professionals, and institutions. A patient may find her doctor preoccupied with tests and medications, while she is devastated over how her life has changed. An institution may demand reams of paperwork from a person who's so debilitated he cannot even manage to take a shower regularly. Employers may convey messages of failure to people who daily demonstrate extreme heroism in just managing to survive. Often the conflict is not due to malice or rudeness, but to the different perspectives each one of them have. If you see only one quadrant, you can be insensitive to people speaking from the other ones and not even know it. So that's the quadrants, and we'll go into much more detail about them later. Another aspect of the model we'll be looking at is the levels of development. It has been definitively found that adults continue to develop their internal operating maps throughout their lifetimes. We are not done at 21. As we develop, we are capable of seeing more, understanding more, acting less self-centeredly, and seeing nuances in ideas that once seemed black and white. These different levels of development have been carefully described by multiple researchers. We will look at these levels in detail because it's important to understand where you and others are focused if you are to find common ground. People at different levels and people who are focused in different quadrants are not looking at or from the same world. You have a general worldview that relates to your stage of development, and so does everyone else. Because these worldviews don't see things the same way, they inevitably clash. An example of this, which is evident in our culture, is the battle between traditional, modern, and postmodern beliefs. Recognizing that each view has its benefits might help us all to listen a little more to others before dismissing their perspective. However, it takes considerable effort and maturity to do that. It is also hard to change someone else's perspective, or our own. But even if we hold different outlooks, we can learn to understand one another better and to work together more effectively using the integral map.